All right, my name's Omar Tal, as you can see by the name of the channel, and I'll kind of be explaining to you guys me becoming vegan, I guess, right? Especially being vegan within, like, let's say the fitness world, right? Being a lifter, being someone who wants to build muscle and wants to kind of like improve their body and stuff like that, right? Um, and just to kind of preface, like, hey, be warned. This I've been vegan for a couple months now, and what it's done to my body. I'm gonna show it on screen, but just be warned, okay? It's there. It is. All right. I look. Oh wow! I can't believe it. I just look like the your stereotypical skinny vegan. I can't believe it. I've become so malnourished, and I look like I'm like 100 pounds, and it's just horrible. I don't know what I've done to myself. I just look so much better than I ever have, ever. All right, but besides jokes and everything, I've been vegan for like about five months, I believe. It was like maybe around early summer, and that's when I became vegan. And then, no, it was around late summer, sorry. And I've been vegan ever since. It's now November as I am filming this, and I've actually been able to gain weight, gain strength, stuff like that. Of course, build back muscle. I was at my leanest before becoming vegan. I did that through like a very like restrictive like fruit only diet. I fell into like one of these like meme diets or fad diets, you can call it, like where I was just eating fruit for like 2.5 months. And I guess that can be my transition to the vegan diet. And yeah, so I lost a bunch of weight, became very lean, and then I gained a lot, gained weight back up. I kind of blew up pretty fast, honestly, through the way of me eating, right? And so to kind of like start off like why I became vegan, right? I became like there's three major pillars that I focus on. So it's kind of like health. That's how I first got into it. Then there's environment, and then ethics, right? All these things kind of lead into one another, but they can be standalone reasons as to why someone might want to become vegan, right? Because they believe it's the better option, from either of those three pillars. So when it came to health, I was trying to, just during last year's Ramadan, I did like a lot of looking into of like food and the effects one has on your body and longevity and stuff like that. And it kind of like weirdly led me down into like this, woohoo path of like, oh, become a fruitarian, only eat fruits and don't eat anything else that has vital nutrients in it. And I did that, I fell into that. It did affect my body in a negative way. Sure, I got leaner and stuff like that. It was easy to like lose weight, but my performance when it came to like working out and exercise, it kind of fell down. And my energy started to fall off. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's how a lot of people become what's called like ex-vegan, where like they go on like a really restrictive, like raw vegan diet or a fruitarian diet or something like that. And they end up kind of like blaming veganism for their deficiencies, right? When they do end up developing deficiencies later on, they blame veganism for their deficiencies rather than their individual diet that they were doing bad on. The same thing can happen on the complete other scale, where someone becomes vegan, but all they're eating is more junk food, right? They replace the animal products with more like refined sugars and refined carbs and all these processed foods, and they gain a bunch of weight or their health declines, and whatever the case may be. And then they also try and blame veganism for the reason why their health declined as well. But it's because they weren't following a diet correctly, right? Like how somebody can be unhealthy on an omnivorous diet, then of course someone can be unhealthy on a vegan diet. Oreos are vegan, Coca-Cola is vegan, right? There's all these things that they come out that's like vegan, but it's not really healthy. It's just candy and junk food, right? And they have us believe that it's healthy. So you have to plan things out right. And that's why, you just have to do a lot better. So now, kind of going back to health, seeing the effects that meat has. And then when I was on my fruitarian thing, I would kind of like have like a day where like, oh man, I don't want to eat fruit. Let me just eat something else. And then I eat like I eat like chicken or something, or something with like some type of animal products. And then one time, like what happened was like I got like sick, and I'm like, no way, man. So maybe because of that restrictive diet, just taking in meat like just instantly wiped out my system. But at the end of the day, I still don't believe in that. Like meat is great for your health, especially when there's plant-based options out there, or actual whole food plant options out there that can get you that same nutrient without all of the issues that eating meat, inflammatory issues that eating meat can come with, such as like kind of like raising cholesterol, stuff like that, having the fats in there. Even cooking it can produce carcinogens that obviously can cause cancer. And processed meat, especially, being a class like 1 carcinogen. So like bacon, all these like deli meat, sandwich meat, stuff like that, cold cuts, all that stuff is like not good at all. And then going to the second pillar, which is environment, seeing how when it comes to animal agriculture and how we raise up animals en masse to basically feed the Western population, or feed anyone, it just uses so much land and so many resources, and it creates so much waste for those animals to not provide enough food in regard to the amount of waste and resources that are being used, right? Like the amount of land that's being used, the amount of water, the amount of carbon that's being expelled into the air, stuff like that, causing pollution. And it might not be like the biggest cause of pollution, of course. There's like a car dependent societies and whatnot, and the waste that we dump into the ocean that can cause all these other problems. But it's still adding fuel to the fire, per se. And then going on to the third pillar, that would be ethics, which kind of like, if you become vegan for health or environmental reasons, becoming a vegan for ethical reasons will probably prevent you from eating meat ever again. And when you see what goes on behind closed doors to these animals, that kind of like just completely changes your worldview. How they're treated, the conditions they're in, the way that they're slaughtered, even if like halal meat or kosher meat, where they're killed in a way where it doesn't allow suffering. Tell me how you can die. Tell me personally how you can get your life taken away without suffering, right? Like, what is a consensual way? Like, would you be okay to get your life taken away without your consent, or without you wanting to die, right? So you just can't kind of excuse murder in that way. And when it comes to my morals, I just don't want to participate in anything that causes any more harm or abuse to animals, right? And then of course there's like arguments against veganism, but I don't want this video to get too long. So now back into kind of like the way that I eat, right? So not only am I vegan, but I eat like specifically a whole food plant-based diet, right? So an even longer term would be a whole food plant-based vegan diet, because I don't eat any animal products. So when it comes to my diet, a plant-based, whole food plant-based diet, I eat majority of whole plant foods, all plant foods technically, and this consists of beans, lentils, legumes, fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, whole grains, and there's probably something in there that I'm missing. But anything that like you can look at and be like, this is a whole food item, like this is the whole base ingredient, then that is what I would eat, right? And I stay away from animal products. I stay away from processed food, as much as I can. I might have like a bag of chips or something, but like, it's not like I have that. I don't have any of that stuff in my house. So when I go out and get groceries, I'll get the food, that I have myself in my own home, and that I'll eat for the most part. And then of course there's some processed, very minimally processed, like soy milk or almond milk, that I'll consume, and tofu. Tofu being like basically soy milk but coagulated. So now it's like this block. And then there's almond milk, or any type of plant-based milk, which is basically like the plant itself blended with water, and then that's how you make almond milk or whatever. Another thing to mention, I did mention soy. Now people will be like, well, doesn't soy kill your test? Where's your testicles, Omar? Aren't your testicles falling off? And how about your voice? Has it become like a high-pitched girly voice? And my answer to that is no, none of that has happened at all. I've been consuming soy products for the past couple months now. Sure, it might not be like a year or anything like that, but I haven't noticed anything different when it comes to like, let's say, my ability to perform as a male or to be a male. Anything like my hormones. I haven't got my blood levels checked, but there's actually been studies that come out saying that soy does not have any negative effects on your body, and that it actually has good effects because it has oxidative effects, right? So it helps with like opening up your arteries and stuff like that, because most plant foods do that in general. And then it actually helps with hormone regulation, because what happens is the phytoestrogens, which are plant estrogens that are found in many plant foods, soy especially, those phytoestrogens attach to our hormone receptors, and they don't allow for like actual estrogens to come in. And you can get actual estrogens from like dairy products, milk especially, milk probably being like one of the highest estrogenic foods out there. So if you already, in two-thirds of the population are already lactose intolerant, so that can kind of tell you about like how dairy is probably like not the best for human health. So this is probably the most asked question: where do I get my protein? Now things have shifted. People don't really ask questions like that to vegans anymore because of like information that's come out. But some people still might ask, so because a lot of people just don't understand how you can build muscle and gain weight without having to eat any meat, especially in a healthy way. So no, I do not rely on like Beyond Meat or Impossible Meat. I don't eat like fake meat products or whatever. I focus mainly when it comes to my protein sources. My major protein sources are legumes. So this would be beans, lentils, red lentils, green lentils, black beans, tofu, especially I eat tofu like almost every day. Garbanzo beans or chickpeas as well, that's what they're also called. Beans in general, legumes, they have like great effects for the body, and they are a great source of plant protein. And they even show to kind of like increase your lifespan and reduce your risk for getting like cancer, diabetes, all these ailments that we suffer from in Western society. And you can get so many other nutrients and not be deficient in a vegan diet, especially if you plan out have a well-planned vegan diet where you're getting, as much nutrients as you need to, so you don't get any deficiencies. Now, the one thing I would mention is probably getting B12. B12 is not found in most plant foods. There's B12 in a good amount of plant foods, but it's not a sufficient amount to kind of get the job done, to make sure you're not deficient. So I just simply take a B12 supplement, and some people will say like, hey, if you take a B12 supplement, then doesn't that mean your diet is inferior? Well, the thing is, if I'm eating meat, and meat has all these inflammatory effects on my body, then isn't that also an inferior diet? And also people who are on a omnivorous diet, which is like, let's just say a standard American diet, aren't they also like sick and unhealthy and overweight and stuff like that? And then of course, another thing too is animals that we eat are also fed B12 supplements, because most of the feed that they're getting is from like grains and beans and whatever that they eat, instead of like food that they would eat like from grass and whatnot. So yeah, you can take a B12 supplement. There's no problem with supplementation at all. I'm sure like, if you want to have optimal health, you probably would try and take some type of supplements or vitamins. And then people who even eat meat as well also have, on average, B12 deficiencies, even more so than vegans, because vegans are most of the time, vegans are very careful to make sure that they don't have types of deficiencies and stuff like that, because most vegans are health conscious in general. And then another thing to mention is that you can get fortified foods. And by that, I mean foods that have those vitamins in them, like maybe calcium or I don't know, zinc or iron. I don't know if you don't need to get zinc or iron fortified with your foods, but let's just say calcium and maybe some D vitamins and B12. You can go and find almond milk with calcium. It's very easy. You can go and get I got something called like nutritional yeast, which is like a type of seasoning, and that can be that can have B12 in it. So if you don't want to take a supplement, then you can get fortified foods that can have, whatever it is that you're gonna need. So a question that somebody might like ask, especially if they come from like a keto or carnivore background where they cut out basically all carbs or whatever, and they just eat like, fatty foods. By fatty foods, mostly like animal-based foods or maybe some plant foods which have fat in them. So they might, think like, okay, well, don't carbs lead to weight gain? Don't carbs make you fat? Aren't carbs like, depleting your energy, whatever? So the body's main source of energy are carbohydrates. It's in the name, carbohydrates, but we have to be very specific about what I mean by carbohydrates, right? So what you want to be getting are, I guess you could say, whole carbs, right? Not refined or processed carbs. Refined and processed carbs would include almost every bread, because they're gonna have like white flour, sugar, stuff like that. Sugar as well, is also white sugar, specifically like, that processed like table sugar, whatever. That is a processed carb, refined carb. There's pasta. Many pastas are processed carbs. And then burger, bread, like donuts, whatever, pastries, whatever, stuff like that, right? Stuff that we enjoy eating, but, it isn't really good for us. So when it comes to whole carbs, that would be stuff like whole grains. So brown rice, not white rice. White rice is not a whole grain. It has the bran and the germ removed from it. So something like brown rice, something like quinoa, something like wild rice, something like buckwheat, I don't know, whatever type of whole grains you might enjoy or you might like. I personally like quinoa. I've been eating it more so than rice. And of course, whole fruits and vegetables. Like, just think about like a diet of like fruits, vegetables, and beans and whole grains. Like, I want you to ask me if you can get fat from that, right? Can you get fat from just eating like whole vegetables and fruits and beans? No, it's almost impossible to do that unless you're eating completely like ultra processed carbs, right? Which is basically like all the foods that we eat nowadays, like that we eat a majority of, that children eat a majority of, right? So it's kind of like a misleading, and we use carbs as a blanket term to describe like basically every food group that isn't like, a fatty food or whatever. So there's no problem with carbs. And with many whole carbs, you're getting fiber. Fiber is what allows for the better assimilation of these properties of the foods into your body, and it also allows for digestion. The average American only gets like 15, barely even like 20 grams of fiber a day. But it's been like shown that like from the fecal matter, fossilized fecal matter, doo-doo of our paleo ancestors, that they were getting like 100 plus grams of fiber in their diet a day. And people are like wondering like, why do I have constipation? I can't poop. They're eating like these cookies with fiber in them. Like, dude, just go eat an apple, bro. Just go eat like like a bean burrito or something like that, bro. You don't have to like, put fiber in like little sweet treats or whatever. Like, God made sweet treats already with fiber in it that can help you poo. Like, dude, come on. But we don't know this stuff, so it's very good to educate yourself or to find sources to educate yourself. Also, I'd want to preface, I'm not like a nutritionist or some type of like health doctor or whatever. It's just, I'm just going based off of the research that I've learned and the experiences I've had with my body. And speaking of experiences, we can get onto like, probably a good important part, which comes to like my performance, right? Being on this diet, and obviously me being someone who exercises, lifts weights, whatever, tries to make progression in the gym. this would probably be a very important topic. So now, how has eating a whole food vegan diet has affected my gain? So I already mentioned in the video, I've gained weight. More specifically, I went from in my mid 150s, I believe, in early summer, or mid to late summer. And now I'm currently, as of this month, I'm currently in my mid 170s. I might be a little higher. And I've had no issue with gaining weight at all. I've been able to kind of blow up pretty quickly, honestly. I'm the strongest I've ever been. This is the most muscle I've ever had. And obviously, like, I can gain weight on a vegan diet if I've lost weight and then, on a very restrictive diet, and then gain weight back eating more on other whole foods and stuff like that. And then another thing to mention is, like, my strength has went up as well. So many things, like, dipping, like, I think it was 105 pounds attached to my body for 1 rep. I was able to squat 225 for, I believe it was 7 reps. I don't know if I have that video on my phone or not, but maybe you're just gonna have to take my word for it if I don't put it up on there. So, obviously this isn't doing me any harm. This isn't doing me any bad. I don't feel like as if my workouts are hindered or I can't exercise. I feel like my exercises are the best they've ever been, to be honest. And just my health in general, I've been going to the bathroom a lot more to poop, obviously, because I'm eating more fiber. But, that takes time to adjust. And then again, like, maybe we were supposed to poop frequently. If you're gonna eat, let's say 3 times a day or snacks in between, then you should probably poop just as much as that. And then, water intake as well. I don't really get thirsty because I'm eating whole foods. So I don't have to drink as much water as I did when I was, like, eating not as many whole foods and I was still eating, like, meat and stuff like that. I used to be a big egghead. Like, I have to eat eggs, like, all day, every day. I have to eat, like, 10 eggs a day, man. They're just so good for your cholesterol. They're gonna rise your cholesterol and your test is gonna be so high that, like, you're gonna die of a heart attack, dude. And you're gonna be 35 when that happens. And that's very good for you. So you have to be eating a lot of, bullshit. That's what I gotta say. I haven't got my blood levels checked or anything like that, so I don't know how I'm doing or whatever, but I feel good. And I try and just watch out for, like, foods that I know, won't be good for me. And with all the information that I've gathered, I feel very confident in my decision to become a vegan. Now, does this mean that you have to become a vegan, or should you try it? I would encourage, anybody watching to maybe try getting less meat into their diet. Maybe they don't have to become a vegan, but at the end of the day, if you're introducing more whole plant foods into your diet, the more whole plant foods that are on your plate or that are going into your mouth on a day-to-day basis, the better. And if you're replacing these, refined processed foods with more whole foods, then, that's just a win all around, And so you want to try and educate yourself on, like, what's best for you, what works for you as well long term, right? Because, keto and carnivore people, even, like, let's say fruitarian or raw vegans, they might feel the best they've ever had, but then, what happens? They get deficiencies, right? They're not getting enough nutrients to sustain themselves, and then they kind of fall off, and then they have to reintroduce, carbs and stuff like that. So obviously carbs are our main energy source. And when you're getting them whole plants, that, that's just the best of it. And if you want to try it out, go ahead. But you don't have to. I just want to encourage you guys to eat more whole plant foods in general. That's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and peace out.